You reduced your prednisone dose. Maybe your doctor gave you a taper schedule. Maybe you went a little faster than that because you were desperate to get off of it. A few days later, you feel terrible, exhausted, achy, dizzy, can't get off the couch. And now you're asking yourself, did I taper too fast? Is my disease coming back? Is something wrong with my adrenal glands? You need an answer. And you deserve one. Before I went to the Harvard Medical School PMR and GCA conference, I sent a survey to hundreds of prednisone warriors asking what their biggest questions were. Over and over, a similar answer came back. How do I tell the difference between a PMR flare, adrenal insufficiency, and prednisone withdrawal? How do I know if I went too fast? So I raised my hand in that room at Harvard, full of specialists, and asked that question on your behalf. But they didn't really have an answer. That night at dinner, I sat next to a rheumatology resident from Johns Hopkins University. We had a genuinely good conversation, so I asked him the same question. His answer made me really frustrated. He didn't really understand the question, as if it had never occurred to him that prednisone withdrawal could possibly be real, that there was a distinction to be made. And at that dinner, I didn't have the full answer either. The 2024 Joint Guidelines, formally recognizing glucocorticoid withdrawal syndrome as a distinct condition, had only been published months before, and neither of us had even heard of it yet. The message simply wasn't reaching practitioners fast enough. But I kept looking, and what I found is what this video is about. And today, I'm going to give you the clearest framework that exists. I'm Dr. Megan. I'm a board-certified doctor of pharmacy and third-generation pharmacist. I've taken prednisone myself. I went to Harvard to find this answer for you. And when the room full of specialists couldn't give it to me, because they were rheumatologists, not endocrinologists, I went to the research. Today, I'm giving you what I found. So here's what we'll cover. There are 5 specific reasons why tapering is so hard to read. I'm going to walk you through each one, explain what's happening in your body, how to distinguish between them, and what the red flags are that mean you need to call your doctor today. So the first reason, when I went looking for a clean way to distinguish withdrawal syndrome from adrenal insufficiency, a clear symptom list, a reliable timeline, a simple test, I found something unexpected. The 2024 Joint Guidelines from the European Society of Endocrinology and the Endocrine Society in the United States, the most authoritative guidelines on the topic that exists, they explicitly state that withdrawal symptoms overlap with adrenal insufficiency, making them very difficult to distinguish. Both conditions can cause crushing fatigue, muscle and joint pain, low mood, brain fog, weakness, sleep disturbance. The confusion isn't because you're not paying attention to your body. It's because these genuinely overlap. The top endocrinologists in the world acknowledge this. The Johns Hopkins rheumatology resident who dismissed your question hadn't been taught this before. Now you have. So what is different between them is glucocorticoid withdrawal syndrome is a separate entity from adrenal insufficiency. Withdrawal results from your body's physical dependence on having higher glucocorticoid levels. This is separate from whether or not your adrenal glands are producing enough cortisol. You can have withdrawal symptoms even when your adrenal labs look normal. That's why testing alone doesn't always resolve the question. Before I get to reason 2, I want to make sure you have a tool in your hands right now. One of the most powerful things you can do when you're trying to tell these conditions apart is to track your symptoms over time, not just day by day, but dose by dose. That way you start seeing patterns instead of panicking at every new ache. I created a free prednisone taper chart exactly for this. Thousands of prednisone warriors have already downloaded it. Click the first link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen right now. It's free, it's printable, and you can take it to your next doctor's appointment. Grab it now and let's keep going. The second reason this is so hard is that a PMR or GCA flare, or your original disease returning, can look almost identical to withdrawal in the first few days. Both can bring fatigue, achiness, and a general sense that something is wrong. But there are distinguishing factors that develop over time. A PMR flare tends to look like severe stiffness in specific areas: shoulders, hips, neck, upper arms. It tends to be worst in the morning, often lasting more than 45 minutes, worsening over days to weeks, and not improving on its own. It's sometimes confirmed by rising blood tests like ESR or CRP, inflammatory markers. And withdrawal tends to look like whole body, generalized fatigue and achiness, a flu-like feeling, and not concentrated in specific joints. Symptoms that don't follow the classic PMR morning pattern. In the first few days after dose reduction, these can be nearly impossible to tell apart. This is why your survey question, the one hundreds of my prednisone warriors asked, is so important, and why listen to your body is not the most helpful advice when your body is speaking 3 languages at once. Kristen asked, how do you tell the difference between the pain from coming off of prednisone and the pain from polymyalgia rheumatica, PMR? When you come off of prednisone, you have pain, and sometimes it's not clear whether or not that is still the PMR pain. Kristen, you are not alone, and it's a tricky question to answer. It just takes time and pattern watching, which I'll walk you through in a moment. So reason number 3, how fast you taper changes your adrenal risk, but there's no reliable formula to predict it. It is as much an art as a science. This is the core of what tapering too fast actually means. It's not just speed, but your body's individual response to the speed. You might assume that if you know your dose and how long you've been on prednisone, you can predict your adrenal risk. But the research says otherwise. And I quote, neither the glucocorticoid dose nor the duration of treatment can be used reliably to predict adrenal function after glucocorticoid withdrawal due to individual variation. That's the key phrase. 2 people on the same dose for the same length of time can have completely different experiences, completely different adrenal responses. One might taper without any issues. The other might struggle for months. There's no formula that predicts which one you'll be. So what we do know is that the risk is highest at doses of 5 milligrams and below, the physiologic range where your adrenal glands should be waking up. The 2024 guidelines specifically recommend tapering more slowly in this zone than in higher dose ranges. This is the 5 milligram purgatory that so many of you describe, and now you understand the biological reason for it. So here's what you can do when symptoms are severe. And this is to correct a piece of advice that gets passed around online. Some people say to push through withdrawal symptoms. That is not what the guidelines say. The guidelines are clear. If withdrawal symptoms are severe, increase back to your last tolerated dose and then extend your taper timeline. I know that's terrible to hear, but you got to reframe it. It's not a failure. It's the medically recommended response. Reason number 4, prednisone could be masking pain that you didn't know you had. This one surprises a lot of people who hear it. And it's actually something I experienced myself. When I was on prednisone for 9 months, I didn't quite notice this until it was over, but my joint pain was gone while I was on prednisone. My eczema rash, which I had had nearly my whole life, completely disappeared while I was on prednisone. And I didn't think much of it at the time because I was so focused on everything else that the prednisone was doing that I forgot these positive side effects and that those bad things had ever been there. But when I tapered off, they came back. And I realized that prednisone had been masking them the entire time. I'd just been on it for so long, I'd forgotten what my normal body felt like. I had a friend who was really old and was usually stuck in his recliner. He normally didn't have the energy to do much, but the prednisone gave him the energy and the pain relief to suddenly go and power wash his garage. Out of nowhere, this 80-something-year-old guy could get up and go work hard the way he used to when he was younger. He felt younger and he was like, why would I ever stop taking this drug? That masking is what I'm talking about. Prednisone is a powerful anti-inflammatory. While you've been on it, it's been suppressing inflammation throughout your entire body, not just where you needed it with PMR or your lungs for asthma, whatever the inflammation or autoimmune condition you were taking it for, whether it's arthritis or bursitis or eczema. Other conditions were quietly being managed in the background without you even knowing. Those inflammatory conditions were just suppressed and you had that relief. But when you taper, prednisone's blanket of anti-inflammatory effect lifts. And suddenly, you feel pain that has nothing to do with prednisone, your tapering, your adrenal glands, or anything else. It's just your body, but without this chemical inflammatory suppression that it's had for months or years. Wendy said, the aches I was feeling immediately after reducing were not associated to PMR, but a combination of prednisone withdrawal, normal aches that had been masked by the prednisone, but mostly osteoarthritis that had developed since starting prednisone that I didn't know I had. Wendy's experience is pretty common. She was chasing a diagnosis for pain that turned out to be a completely separate condition, one that prednisone had been hiding. This reason 4 is why you genuinely cannot tell what's happening. Some of what you feel has nothing to do with your taper speed at all. Reason number 5, prednisone can cause new conditions, and their symptoms may emerge during the taper. This 5th reason is closely related to the 4th reason, but it's actually more serious. Prednisone doesn't just mask existing conditions. Over time, it can cause new ones. Avascular necrosis, which is bone tissue death from reduced blood supply, can develop silently while you're on prednisone. Accelerated osteoarthritis, significant bone density loss. These can be building for months before you feel them. And then you start tapering, and the prednisone's masking effect lifts, and pain that was already there becomes noticeable for the first time. It can feel like the taper caused the pain, but the taper just revealed the pain. This matters because the response is completely different. If you are dealing with a new condition that developed from prednisone, going back up on your dose is not the answer. In fact, it might make the underlying condition even worse. This is a situation that genuinely needs a doctor involved. Which brings me to the most important part of this video, how to actually use this information. Now that you understand the 5 reasons why it is so hard to tell if you've tapered prednisone too fast, here's how to start working through it. Ask yourself these 3 questions every time symptoms appear after a dose reduction. Question number 1. Where is it? Location is one of the few distinguishing features that's actually useful. Whole body, generalized fatigue and achiness with no clear focal point is more consistent with withdrawal or adrenal insufficiency. Specific joints, especially shoulders, hips, neck, upper arms, and stiff in the morning is more consistent with a PMR flare. Pain in a specific hip or knee and worsens with movement, you need to bring this up with your doctor because it could indicate avascular necrosis, osteoarthritis, or something else. Question 2, is it getting better, worse, or the same? The trajectory over time is more useful than any single day. This is how you find out whether you tapered too fast for your body. But there is no reliable timeline for how long withdrawal symptoms last. The research is clear that duration varies greatly from person to person, and symptoms can persist for weeks to months. What matters is the direction. If it's worsening progressively, contact your doctor. This pattern is more consistent with a flare or a new condition. If it's not improving after several weeks, or it's interfering with your ability to function, contact your doctor. You may need dose adjustment or testing. If it's fluctuating but not clearly worsening, track it carefully, note the pattern, and discuss it at your next appointment. Tracking matters here precisely because there is no clean timeline to predict. The taper chart helps you see a pattern your doctor can actually use. Question 3, are you under unusual stress, physical stress, surgery, serious illness, infection, even significant emotional trauma? These all increase your body's cortisol demand significantly. If you're tapering and under unusual stress, your adrenal risk is higher than the taper schedule alone would suggest. This is when adrenal crisis risk goes up and when stress dosing may be needed. Talk to your doctor before that situation arises. Most withdrawal symptoms, while genuinely miserable, are not medical emergencies, but there are specific symptoms that point toward adrenal insufficiency specifically, and these require same-day contact with your doctor or maybe even going straight to the emergency room. The 2024 guidelines and supporting research identify these distinguishing features of adrenal insufficiency: dizziness or fainting when you stand up, orthostatic hypotension, which is your blood pressure dropping, shakiness, confusion, or sweating that can indicate low blood sugar or hypoglycemia, inability to function at all, not just fatigue, but genuine collapse of normal capacity, severe nausea or vomiting with an inability to keep anything down. These symptoms distinguish adrenal insufficiency from pure withdrawal syndrome. If you experience them, do not wait. Contact your doctor or go to the emergency room. Tell them you are on prednisone or recently tapered and that you are concerned about adrenal insufficiency. And if you have been on prednisone for more than a few weeks at any dose, ask your doctor today whether you should have a medic alert bracelet or card. This is something most doctors don't have time to mention. But if you are in an accident or need surgery and the ER doesn't know that you've been on prednisone, you could go into adrenal crisis without anyone even knowing to look for it. So that's a conversation you could have with your doctor. At the very least, put it on your smartphone. The 2024 guidelines give explicit direction for when withdrawal symptoms are severe. Increase your dose to the last tolerated dose. Extend the duration of your taper and slow it down. That's the medically recommended response. We don't push through. We don't just wait it out. We don't tough it out. You temporarily increase and then taper more slowly. I know this is not the news you wanted to hear if you've been working at tapering for months or years. It is super frustrating, but it is the correct clinical response according to the most current international guidelines. So here's some questions you could bring to your doctor. First question, can we check my cortisol level or do a stimulation test? If you've been tapering and struggling at low doses for a long time, especially between 4 to 6 milligrams, ask for adrenal function testing. A morning cortisol is a simple way to test, or a more complicated one is a concentropin ACTH stimulation test, and they can help assess where your adrenal recovery stands. The 2024 guidelines recommend this when patients are symptomatic at physiologic doses between 4 to 6 milligrams or below. So the second question you can ask is, should I have a medic alert bracelet? And you can ask your doctor directly. If you've been on prednisone more than a few weeks, your doctor could advise you on this. So one more thing, a big part of why withdrawal feels so brutal for so many people is that prednisone has been depleting key nutrients the entire time you've been on it, including nutrients that your adrenal glands need and your muscles need to function. After taking prednisone myself and researching this extensively, I created Nutrinize Zone. It's the first and only supplement designed specifically for people on prednisone. It's not going to resolve adrenal insufficiency itself or get you out of withdrawal, but it does address the nutrient depletion side of this equation that almost nobody else talks about. And the link is in the description below. So now you understand why your confusion is legitimate. It's not because you're not paying attention to your symptoms. It's because these 5 things are genuinely clinically hard to tell apart, even for specialists at the top institutions in the world. You have a framework now. You know the questions to ask yourself and your doctor. You know the red flags to look out for, and you know what the guidelines actually say. And here's the next question that naturally follows. Once you're finally off prednisone, how long does it take for your adrenal system to recover? When will your adrenal glands get back in action? How do you know if they're working or not? And what do you do if they're not? That's exactly what I cover in the next video in this series. Click here to watch it now. Signing off as Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist.